Welcome back, everybody. My name is Mary Lee Burnett. I am your astrologer here with the messages for the week of August 12th, 2024, which I'm going to warn you right now is probably the most intense week of the year without any major lunar events involved. Although this does lead up to the intense Aquarius full moon next Monday. So all the work that you do this week is intentional. Now, if you're new to my channel, please take a moment and click on that subscribe button. That way you'll get notification as soon as I upload new content. Like, comment, ask me questions. I love answering your guys' questions, so please feel free to put them down in the comment section. Now, if you're new, you may not know that I use AstroGold software. I break down the energy day by day, trying to focus in on the major events that are going on. And those events this week have a lot to do with squares, T-squares, which is a triangle of pressure, which means you have to make some adjustments and you're going to feel the squeeze. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about ways to manage that. And just know that all of this pressure is so that when that full moon in Aquarius happens next Monday, you're ready to conclude the work. You're ready to end and finish whatever this work ends up being for you. And now might be a really good time for you to book a session with me. And don't tell my manager, which is me, that I still have my special discounted rate out there for you. That's supposed to be just for Christmas in July. But knowing how intense this energy is, I'm going to leave it out there a little bit longer in case there's more of you that need a little bit of extra help. All right. With that, I think I've covered everything. Don't forget to also go out to my website, maryleeburnett.com, subscribe there. That way you can be looking ahead. You can take a look at September and the eclipse seasons that are going to start in the middle of September. Go back and review this August content. Check out specifically that full moon in Aquarius. So all you have to do is go out there and join. I don't spam you. I just send you the articles and hopefully you enjoy them. All right. I think that's enough of that. Let's just start breaking it down. And as the week begins on Monday, so here we are, August 12th, 2024. Of course, I record these early. So if anything changes this week that I haven't captured, make sure you follow me on the shorts. Because there I talk about the daily energy as well. And I'll capture any current events in those conversations. But as we get started here on Monday specifically, I want to call your attention to energy that is building. So we have energy between Jupiter, the great benefic, the big teacher, the godlike energy in the sign of Gemini, expanding our knowledge. And it is starting to square off with Saturn. Now, when the two powerhouses in the zodiac start having difficult conversations, collectively we are having difficult conversations as well. Saturn wants to be in charge and know everything and be the boss. And Jupiter wants to get you out of situations where you're being too controlled, too restricted. So there is this clash of Jupiter that wants to help you grow and Saturn that wants you only to grow if you're following his instructions. So there's some conflict there. Saturn in Pisces has been trying to teach us about healthy boundaries. And so there's something we need to learn. There's something we may need to change our mind about. There is a conflict out there and it's going to build in intensity all this week. Now, it very much has to do with conflicts between foreign leaders, overseas countries. So just be prepared. And again, keep yourself grounded in reality. Don't buy into people who are just trying to stir up chaos and nonsense for likes. Don't go there. Trust yourself and what is showing up for you but it definitely is going to be an intense week. And this is one of the energies that's going to be adding to that intensity. So that is what we're looking at as we begin Monday. And if you've been working with me, the lines on the chart in front of you become more bold, more intense, the closer the planets get to being exact to one another. So that's how we're starting the week. What we'll see on Tuesday is the green lines mean this is quincunx or in conjunct energy. It's a 150-degree angle, which is just a little weird and strange. So back in the last week of July was when Mercury was going forward through this area and starting to give us a first look at something that has to do with our Mercury retrograde work, right? Mercury is work, and we have work to do. And here at 0 degrees of Virgo, so now Virgo's been covered in the first 3 degrees by Mercury forward, and now it's already been looked at again in retrograde. And at 0 degrees, it's always something new that we need to see. So what did you see? What did you need to pay attention to at the end of July? Because it's coming up for you again for a second look. Now, there's facts and details that you need to pay attention to. And Pluto, retrograde in the sign of Aquarius, also is trying to bring things back up, right? Are you being of service? Are you making a difference? Are you with your tribe? Do you fit in? Do you belong? Are you being innovative? What are you doing? So Pluto's been here in Aquarius since about the 3rd week of January. That was giving us that view from last January to August here in these first degrees of Aquarius. And so it's the next 2 weeks where we finish looking at the future, which will be the Aquarius future work of next year. And then it's going to dip back into Capricorn from about the 1st of September through about the 19th of November. And that will be the final work that we need to do. But there's something we need to see again more closely before Pluto dips back in to Capricorn. And there's something about the information, which is Mercury, that's coming up in a weird and strange way today. So, not a good day to sign contracts, make commitments, but if something does come up, especially the weird things, unexpected things, definitely slow down and take a good close look at it, but you just might not want to consider any kind of commitment. But again, go back to like July 26th when these two first made up, and whatever they were talking about, this is the second part of the story, but it's not quite done yet. So be patient with how this unfolds. The other things that you'll see is the moon will be in Sagittarius. It will be speaking in harmony with the nodes. Of course, that happens a couple of times through the month, but it's always good to pay attention to your intuition as the moon is speaking in harmony with the nodes. So we'll have that energy supporting us as well. All right, let's go ahead and take a look next at Wednesday. Now, Wednesday, we're going to see the first of our T-square events that are showing up. And this one will involve the moon. So this is emotionally something that we're tuning in and going to be paying attention to. And at the same time, the moon's going to end up being part of a grand water trine. So there's definitely something of interest to see there. And, but wait, there's more. We've got Mercury still at that 0 degrees, still talking in its strange way with Pluto, also talking in its strange way to Neptune. So again, you're going back to what was trying to come up for you at the end of July. A yod is some kind of a mission or a quest. And now, whatever that quest was, you've got to take a second look at it. Now, this happened just after the new moon in Leo. These planets, Venus was here at the new moon in Leo, speaking again with Pluto and Neptune. Then Mercury came through, similar conversation from a slightly different perspective. So there is something important in the collective, in our lives, that is coming up in a big way on this day. And it requires change. It requires ownership of the change. But the great thing when you have a grand water trine is that out of this change, out of this quest that you're on, is a great success. And this is fire energy. And I can't remember if I said fire earlier. I feel like I said water. This is a grand fire trine. So this is something that you feel fired up about, you feel motivated to do. And when the sun and moon speak in harmony, that always feels good. It's like your inner self and your outer self, like everybody's on the same page. You feel whole as a person. And then with the sun and the moon speaking in harmony with Chiron, the healer, right? There's this opportunity to heal something within you, or this could be the sign that you are meant to take your healing work to the next level. Trine energy, if you don't take advantage of it, the opportunity will disappear. So whatever is showing up for you, weird ways, right? With Mercury at 0 degrees of Virgo, part of this yod, with the moon squaring Saturn. Both are squaring over to Jupiter and Mars. Jupiter and Mars coming together means that conversations can be very intense. Information could be blowing up. You're doing things with your hands when we're talking about Gemini energy. So there is something very busy about this day and about information. And I'm guessing the internet is literally on fire today with whatever the news is. So Wednesday, woo-wee, it's intense. And you're being pulled in multiple directions, right? It's like, am I working with Mercury because I've got this yod, this mission? Am I focused on my success with this fire energy? Or do I need to work with Saturn? Because Saturn is trying to hold all the moon, Jupiter, and Mars together to accomplish something big, right? So intriguing day, to say the least, is Wednesday. It's, I think, the most volatile day because of the fact that Jupiter and Mars are conjunct. You know, Jupiter expands on what it touches. Mars is war, right? Now, it can be a war of words, or there can be movement. And this would be, not that we want to put bad energy out there, but if you think about, attacks in communities because of the fact that this is Gemini energy, it's just a really good day to be careful, be aware of your surroundings, and definitely don't get into a war of words with anybody because it won't go well. Got to trust your intuition, right? So the moon in Sagittarius wants to go, wants to get moving, wants to take off. And Jupiter and Mars are like, yeah, but you got responsibilities here at home. You need to stay here. And the moon's like, no, I need to take off. And then Saturn's is like the icebreaker or the tiebreaker. And it's like, what you need to do is have a plan, have very good boundaries, and you need to maintain your emotions, right? Because Pisces is also a water sign. So there's a lot to see on Wednesday, and we'll just have to wait and see what that is. All right. Let's take a look next at Thursday. So now we're into August 15th. What remains out of that grand fire trine is the trine between the sun and Chiron. So there's still this opportunity to heal, right? The sun could be a leader, right? Leo, and someone who's been sick, for instance, and now announces that they're well. That's a potential way that this could show up. And then in your own life, like I said, if you are a healer or a coach or a mentor in some way, which Chiron and Aries is, then something about the work that you've been doing, there's an opportunity for you to maybe receive a new leadership position. Sun in Leo. Energy that puts you on stage. All going to depend on where this is happening in your own chart. But that's really, it's good news. It's good always to be able to heal. And then left out of that yod is now, Mercury has now dipped back in to the sign of Leo. And it will, of course, continue in the sign of Leo until August 28th when it finishes its retrograde motion. But now, whatever we've needed to see at the end of July about this conversation with Mercury, Neptune, and of course Pluto's still there, but now these are both at 29 degrees and speaking together at that weird angle. And 29 is a critical or a crisis type of degree. I like to always call it like this is a big test. At 29, you're at the last degree of the sign, and there's something we are being tested on. And of course, where we're being tested depends on where you have this happening in your chart. And of course, what you've been working on since the end of July. So it's coming up again. More intensity as now Saturn and Mars are exactly square one another. So Saturn is the brakes, Mars is the gas. Sometimes I like to think of Saturn as the clutch and Mars as the gas. If you know how to drive a stick shift, which there's probably not very many people out there who do that still. So the ideal way to use this energy today, square means we need to change something. Saturn's like Mars. Before you take off, I need you to slow down and look at this information, and I need you to follow my plan. Now, Mars doesn't like doing that because Mars is the warrior and thinks it can just win every battle, doesn't need anybody's help. But today you benefit from slowing down and listening to a mentor and possibly changing the current direction or path that you are on. So if you don't, right, if you just press the gas and you don't use the clutch, you'll flood your car out, right? And that's not helpful. So there's some finesse needed to this energy on Thursday because of the square, because of the awkwardness between Mercury and Neptune. This can create really fuzzy thinking. It can be bringing information to the surface that everyone thought was hidden, but now it's not. Now the truth is coming out. And because of that, you can overreact or you can slow down and look at the big picture because there's still a lot more to see this week. Okay. As we move to Friday, you're just going to see the square now is exact between Jupiter and Saturn. Mars is starting to move on a little bit. It's like, okay, I got what you said and I'm moving on. Like, bye, Saturn. Saturn has a strong grip, but that's just the gist of it. But now So if you think about the last time that Saturn and Jupiter were conjunct, it was at this 29 degrees of Capricorn that is about to be activated again by Pluto. So we're talking about a storyline from 2020, December 2020 to be exact, that there's change needed and necessary as a result of something that was going on in your life back at that time. So that's a little piece of the storyline when you see planets that were once together in a sign and then now they're at a place where they're squaring one another, then something about their journey and what they started is now they're not on the same page. And so we have to pause and look at where did we get off target and what adjustments do we need to make. Now, we, of course, we're just starting to really deal with COVID back then. And Saturn in Pisces has everything to do with medicine and healing. So there could be something coming up about an older person, a leader that is suffering an illness. So we'll see what comes up at this time. But again, Jupiter is a great benefic. We'd say Saturn is a great malefic. So the little light versus the dark, good versus evil, there's some kind of a battle going on and it's big. So be prepared. The energy will be big in your life as well. All right. Let us move on. We're going to see the same energy going on Saturday. But what you're going to notice, and this T-square on Saturday is just starting to develop with Venus in the mix. And this is the T-square that will become exact during the full moon in Aquarius on Monday the 19th. So this is where I think you need to pay attention to whatever pressure you're feeling, because this is the work that you have to complete that's going to help you achieve what your Aquarian goals are with that full moon in Aquarius. Speaking of Aquarius, we've got Pluto and the moon speaking together today. So you really need to pay attention to your intuition and your subconscious mind, right? Pluto rules the hidden and unseen in psychologically, right? It's your subconscious mind. It's your fear. So you got to tune in and pay attention to that. Of course, we've got this long connection to Neptune, also very intuitive. All outer planets, when they go retrograde, are having us turn inward. And you're going to notice the third planet, Uranus, now moved to 27 degrees. So it's in the mix now too. So this financial freedom that you seek with Uranus and Taurus, these three are speaking in harmony. So these are outer forces that are starting to work together to help shape the energy of the collective and to bring change and to bring transformation. So this is going to be an influence that is with us for a long time, because of the fact that these planets move very slowly. This is why we're starting to see major shifts in society, government changes. All of that is because of these outer planets that are starting to speak and work in harmony with one another. But pay attention to the conflict, because that is where we're going to need to put our attention and not get overwhelmed, but instead follow through with where we feel pressure and make the changes that are needed. So again, Jupiter and Venus together, that's the gentler side of this conflict. But Venus trying to face off with Saturn, Saturn's the stronger of these two. Venus isn't going to have the control that she wants to have because her energy is being challenged in a big way by Jupiter and Saturn. So this is like the weakest link in this T-square, but it's, Jupiter and Mars at the top of, I like to say it's a volcano, right? And the energy's got to come out there. If you don't want it to come out, I guess you can go hide over here in Sagittarius land and try to pull that tension back. But I feel like it's got to release. And I don't know if you want to bury it over here on the other side, or if you want to instead let this change happen, right? This is trying to change your mindset. There's something important, and it could be a conflict between women and men, right? A young woman and older men. There's definitely an interesting conflict that's happening on Saturday, and it will continue to build over the next several days. So all week long, the conflict is there. And when Venus enters the picture, it's like there's a new piece to the equation of what is stirring all of this up for us. All right. And that's basically how we end, is that Venus energy is just going to keep marching closer. And of course, as it does to the 17 degrees of both Saturn and Jupiter, it's building. That's why this T-square is much bolder as this is happening. And I'm going to go back to Saturday for a second. This information, this idea, this conversation that again can be from a younger leader, for instance, is coming up, in ways that are shocking and surprising because of the fact that Mercury retrograde again now is having a difficult conversation with Uranus, and Uranus brings surprise. So unexpected shocks, right, can be happening as a result of these conversations. And again, we're going back to the end of July where Mercury and Uranus met up before, but they met up at 26 degrees. So Uranus has just moved on, but there's still conversation and conflict that we need to think about and we need to respond to. So what was going on for all of us at the end of July? That is something that you want to be thinking about. It was after the full moon in Capricorn had already happened, so we were already dealing with the fallout and the changes in the Democratic Party here in the States. So, but what was going on in your life at that time? There's something about that could shock you on Saturday. It's still with us a bit on Sunday, but Mercury's starting to move off a bit, but it's still close enough contact even on Sunday that you can still expect to be surprised. And in fact, on Sunday, when we have Mercury Cazimi and Uranus. So, oh Lordy be, we are in for it. It is huge aha moments. There could be big changes in leadership because Leo is the lion, the leader. This could have something to do with some on-stage personality. Could be a singer, could be an actor, someone younger that shocks and surprises us all, because that is what Uranus in Taurus does. There could be more craziness in the financial markets. So just, again, don't take any huge risks right now because you just don't know how this is all going to be resolving itself. But Uranus wants you to break free. So this, again, is a lot about mindset. Mercury rules the mind, and the sun shines a light on whatever it touches. And as Mercury goes Cazimi, it's, reborn. This energy of the sun always cleanses. Mercury cleanses your mind so that you can have a fresh perspective and a fresh start. But not everybody likes the mind being highlighted, so it can feel really shocking and uncomfortable. So again, it's really going to depend what you have in your personal chart around this 26, 27 degrees, because that energy with the full moon in Aquarius, that's where the end is, right? That's where we have to balance things back out. So this gives us the, oh my God, moment. And then the full moon comes in and it's going to be speaking to these same planets and energies. And that's what Monday's going to bring us, is that incredible tension that has been building up all week long. And then it's going to culminate in that full moon in Aquarius next week. And so next week, when we're talking, I will give you a breakdown by sign of what you might be seeing come to an end, right? So if you're Capricorn, for instance, then this Aquarius full moon's happening in your second house of the money you make, of your values, of your self-worth. So full moon brings completion, right? So it can be an ending or it can bring something to fullness, that a goal of yours, such as the one you set with the new moon 6 months ago in the sign of Aquarius, that you're now ready to bring to fullness. So of course, it's just going to depend on what's going on in your own chart. I, of course, would love to work with you and help you navigate this. You can check out my specials for new moons and full moons. So it's a 30-minute session where we just dig in and look at what's going on, where's the pressure, how's it speaking to your own natal planets, and what have you been working on? Where have you been feeling the pressure? How do you navigate the pressure, right? I'm just going to tell you, you can't be narrow-minded right now, and you can't keep doing the same old thing. That's not what this energy is about. It is about innovation, right? It's Aquarius, and it is coming up with solutions that aren't typical in order to manage through all of this tension and craziness. Most importantly, breathe. You can go out and listen to any of my hypnosis sessions. That'll help you get your chakras cleared. Stay active. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, don't stay home alone. Pick up the phone, call somebody. Don't just sit and stew in this energy. It's meant to motivate you and activate you to do something different, something more. Aquarius, we the people, becoming a part of something, being of service to others, right? We energy is Aquarius. Leo, it's all about me. Me, 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 me. That's why somebody who's on stage when you have Mercury Cazimi in Leo is going to shock and surprise us. Now, we've got marriages out there that are on the rocks. We could see announcements. I don't know that they'd be very shocking at this point, but that's the potential. We have entertainers that are under pressure. Maybe somebody cancels the rest of their tour as a result of some of these things going on. So many possibilities. And there is a certain leader whose Mars energy is being activated at this time and will be under tremendous amount of pressure. And that politician happens to have some court dates coming up. So it's going to be such a show. That's all I can tell you. It doesn't feel, I tend to energetically connect and get a sense of what it is. It feels more exciting. I know it nervous energy. It doesn't feel foreboding, but there's definitely a lot of anxiousness involved in this. So we'll see. We'll, of course, dig into this more next week with the breakdown for all of your signs, sun, moon, and rising. So be sure, again, click on subscribe, go out to my website, take a look at the article for this full moon in Aquarius, and get curiously detached. So I tell everybody, I'm like, hey, when change is going on and we don't know what the outcome is going to be yet, just remain curiously detached. Don't take everything too personally. Just be really super curious, because I am. So join me on my curious journey. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you that watches this. And again, comment, share, ask me questions, and I'll happily answer them. All right, guys. I will talk to you next week. Take care. Be sure and check out your weekly tarot card messages as well. Those, along with this Astrolesson, are going to give you the big picture. Thanks again for tuning in. Talk to you next week.